How is it going, everyone? I am here to cover a story that is kind of insane and is emblematic of a larger issue that we have on the PlayStation Store. We are in an era of a lot of these storefronts, PlayStation Store, Steam, the Nintendo eShop. They are allowing so many games onto their service. Steam especially, you're getting thousands and thousands of games released every year, but the PlayStation Store as well. As somebody that regularly does these deals videos on these channels, and a lot of the times I get the criticism on those videos that it's a lot of the same games, and when I go on the super cheap side of games and we're doing videos of under $2, I try to mention newer games and other games we don't mention a lot, and it is a lot of weeding through the PlayStation Store. There are just tons and tons of games that, whatever they are clearly asset flips, cash grabs, AI generated games. I don't even know as far as each individual game goes, but there's a lot of games out there that are taking up a lot of space on the PlayStation Store, and there are some issues that are arising. And one big issue, what was brought to the attention on the PlayStation 5 subreddit by Steel Krill Studio on an official post. It's the top post as of the recording of this video, and again, I think this issue is emblematic of a larger issue. Their post is quite lengthy, and they've had multiple issues as far as getting their games on the PlayStation Store and somebody stealing their game and then also selling it on other storefronts. So let's go over their post. The TLDR is them ranting about the current state of the PlayStation Store. I had my game stolen and sold there earlier this year. My latest project, a VR game I've been working on since 2023, that was refused a separate VR page that was supposed to release tomorrow, but the PSVR 2 version got delayed. Meanwhile, shovelware games keep getting improved without issue. That's the best terminology. There's a lot of shovelware games, especially every time, you guys, the PlayStation Store has price filters that you can go through. Every single PlayStation Store sale, when you filter via games under the price of $2, oh buddy, there is a lot of games that are clearly just thrown together. And also, they do the gimmick of having a PlayStation 4 and PlayStation 5 version of the game, so they can take up 2 slots on the PlayStation Store page. A lot of those games, do they really need a PlayStation 5 version? Are we making incredible upgrades utilizing the power of the PlayStation 5 from the PlayStation 4 with a lot of these games? Probably not. I believe that they're released on both platforms so they can gimmick the system to have separate listings for both, and you can promote the game essentially 2 times, and you can take up spots on the PlayStation Store page. I think that needs to be worked on. Now, when I do the videos themselves, I'm working on the web page. I know most of you guys are on the PlayStation Store on the console itself, so that's handled a little bit differently, but still, you want to create a shopping experience that's going to get the relevant games to the relevant people and also create a fair experience. I feel like Steam has been making a lot of strides in the right direction, but Steam is not a perfect storefront either. By the way, Steam's a platform that has had games literally have malware updates and things of that nature, which is a huge issue in its own right that needs to be eliminated as well. But the user Steel Krill again noted, I wanted to start by saying that I've been a lifelong fan of PlayStation. Having a couple of my games available on their platform has always been an incredible honor. This post isn't meant as an attack, it's simply an honest discussion about the current state of the PlayStation Store and how deeply disheartening it is for smaller developers. In my personal opinion, it feels as though PlayStation is doing little to support developers and increasingly allowing shovelware with an AI art slapped on it to flood the store. Flood being the imperative word. Again, I look at the listing of the PS4 and PS5 games, and I'll throw up some screenshots again of the under $2 section, and you're just seeing a lot of these games. Weeding through it, it's just like a little bit ridiculous. Do we need a PS4 and PS5 version of Forklift Simulator 2023? Do we need a PS4 and PS5 version listed of Blacksmith Simulator? I don't know, maybe we do. You guys tell me, do you guys think we need that? Or Ultra Food Mess? Do we need a PS4 and a PS5 version of that game listed as well? No, I don't think we do, but you know, you guys can be the judge of that. I don't know why exactly this is happening, perhaps because these low-quality releases still generate revenue, but it's heartbreaking to see. I'll tell you why. I think, first of all, yes, they generate revenue. I also think there are trophy hunters out there that are buying these games, and I believe on the PS4 and PS5 version of these games, they have separate trophy lists. Like, guys, I'm all about... I've been back on my trophy hunting grind recently. We'll see how far I take it. I seem to get into these waves, but, dude, trophies for games that are totally irrelevant to you, I feel like mean nothing, but I do think that's one of the reasons people do buy some of these games, and they actually see value in them when they're 79 cents, 99 cents. They're like, oh, I can get some trophies out of this, which, you know, more power to you. Enjoy the games how you want to. I just don't find that a great way to enjoy your games, but nevertheless, this isn't just my perspective as a developer, but it's also as a consumer. A lot of players end up buying these games by mistake, and when that happens, can they get a refund? Nope, they're stuck with it. I still believe players should have that option on a refund. It's only fair. Obviously, that's something I've been calling for a while. Copy, implement the Steam gimmick of a 2-hour window, and then refund the game. I get it that people can abuse it to an extent. How much content are you gonna get out of 2 hours? Even if it's not 2 hours, yo, give me 15 minutes, give me 20 minutes, give me 30 minutes, something. It doesn't have to be 2 hours if you think people are gonna gimmick that, but 30 minutes, maybe they'll like, oh, they can get some trophies in 30 minutes. I don't know why I keep bringing this back to trophies, but I really believe some of these thrown together games sell because of trophies. Back in February, I released my game, The Backrooms, at 1998 on consoles. Unfortunately, here's where this just gets insane. Someone ripped it, stole it, and released it there first. You can read all about it. They have a link to a separate post that they made, and I don't know how this story didn't get brought to my attention. I usually try to keep up with these things, but I did not, I wasn't even aware of this story. So one of their games literally got stolen. Again, that being The Backroom 1998. It was basically stolen by one of these scam companies and sold as their own under a different title. To PlayStation's credit, they did remove the stolen version. However, in the end, the people who stole my game still benefited financially. They got paid, closed down the company, opened 10 others in a different name, and mostly probably done the same. PlayStation got paid. I, the original developer, received nothing. These companies operate by simply shutting down, rebranding under a new name, and repeating the same scheme over and over. Meanwhile, indie developers continue working tirelessly, struggling to gain visibility while people exploit the system. I know indie game development is a grind, and I'll continue with this post, but you're talking about long hours, and yes, sometimes people focus on indie gaming is thriving. Look at indie game success. This game is doing incredibly well. That game is doing incredibly well. You know, AAA games are a thing of the past. It's the indie games that are big. Guys, there's so many indie games that come out, and you're talking about individuals that do this on their free time. They're working a job at the same time, and they've got little to no free time as far as game developing on the side. It's a passion project. They've got a full-time job to make ends meet. It is not all sunshine and rainbows in the indie game development world. I know sometimes we hyper-focus on this indie game doing really well, that indie game doing really well, but remember, there's so many indie games coming out, and to find visibility, you are scratching and clawing, and you are just hoping that somebody takes attention to a game, and I'm sure they're not even hoping for having a success at the level of, you know, some of the big games that come out, but just somebody being aware of it. It is a lot of the times an absolutely thankless effort, and you can put out a really great game, and sometimes it just doesn't click with the algorithm. The right people don't pay attention to it. Content creators don't create videos about it, and there's only so much time in the day that it's literally not possible for every indie game to be a success. However, you want to put them in the position where they have the best opportunity to succeed, and that's where the storefronts come in. That's where the PlayStation Store comes in. That's where Steam comes in. That's where every storefront should be doing everything in their power to have the visibility for the games that will be relevant to each individual consumer, and the PlayStation Store has been failing at that for a long time, and with more and more games coming out, it is absolutely paramount that every storefront gets this in order. The post continues, the saddest part to me is that they're being allowed to do this, and that's exactly why they keep doing it. Scammers will scam, that's what they do, I guess, but this is your platform, PlayStation. Why is this still happening? Who's approving all of these games? Why are real legitimate games getting it all hard while shovelware gets approved instantly? That's my question, and that's something we don't have any transparency on. We don't have it with Steam. We really don't have it with PlayStation. We don't really have it with any of these storefronts as far as what is the actual process? What is the human review? It's a lot of times, to me, do you just keep submitting things. If it gets declined once, do you make a minor alteration and you just catch the right person at the right time? They woke up that day, something went good, and they're just like, you know what, I'm gonna let that... Nobody knows. Nobody knows as far as what the actual process is. Is there guidelines in place? I'm not a game developer, so I'm not looking into the exact specifics and the nuances of this, but to me, it feels like the indie developers are unaware of what the actual process is as well. And again, the post continues. Another example also happened to Cloverpit recently. Someone already ripped it off and put it on PlayStation. The original dev made a post about it on their Twitter. Same thing happened with tons of other indie devs. It's incredibly discouraging. What was once a top-tier platform for quality games now feels worse than a mobile store. And that's the thing. The PlayStation Store, look, when it was 2009, 2010 in its infancy, and Wipeout HD and Fat Princess were on the front page and they were being promoted a lot, and it was few and far between that you would see digital games. It was one thing because they were getting a lot of promotion, and you're not talking about a lot of digital games coming out. When you're talking about every single game coming out digitally, when you're talking about a lot of indie games coming out, it becomes a harder and harder battle. And it's not like PlayStation can do everything and make every indie game a success. Like I said, the unfortunate reality is, and I've said this before in videos where, I see a lot of developers doing certain things with games, looking for the engagement hours, etc., etc. The ultimate reality in gaming today that I feel like a lot of publishers need to understand is that there is a finite number of hours in the day. It is impossible. It is outright impossible for every single game to be a success, even if they're really good. And that's why games asking you to spend 50, 80 to 100 hours on these live service experiences, they're inherently flawed because they are fighting against what nobody of us can overcome, and that is father time. Again, so many hours in the day that there's no way for PlayStation to make every single game a success, but they can offer the best opportunity to the relevant games and the games that make a more compelling storefront. Now, it's a lot easier to go about the process of just greenlighting every game, selling everything, but they are declining relevant games, so where is the cause of that? As a small indie developer, it's painful to see how flooded the marketplace has become. If you browse the games to wishlist section, you'll find maybe 100 genuine real games buried under 800. And again, I keep interrupting this post, but I went under the under $1.99 section on the PlayStation Store because people are looking for cheap games, and right off the top on the front page, at least on the web store, it's a lot of games that have PS4 and PS5 listings, and they're clearly cash grab games. They're clearly shovelware titles, and page 2, it's just nonsense. You got so many games that are just straight up nonsense, and then there are relevant games buried deeper behind the double listings of the PS4 and PS5 games. Like, what is actually going on as far as how these games are ordered? Something needs to be done about that, and that is a failure on the PlayStation Store. And again, it's not just the PlayStation Store, it's a PlayStation channel, so I'm making it relevant to that. That hurts smaller developers. We rely on that visibility sometimes, especially ones that we have no budget for marketing, and we're being drowned out. I am not even sure if I can survive a couple of more years in this market. I understand this is a platform-wide problem and not just PlayStation. I know it happens on Nintendo eShop as well, but maybe a little more curation to your platforms may help. User continues, recently I've been working on my first VR game. To give some context, I've been working on it since 2023. I released my first game on the PlayStation Store called Trenches. Now I was working on Trenches VR. Unfortunately, Sony would not allow us to have a separate VR page for the title, even though other VR games have been granted a separate VR page so we can start collecting wishlists. Instead, I was told to direct players to wishlist the base version of the game, which is already out, which only confuses players. Basically, VR players need to wishlist the base game that is already out and then get notification when VR is out. It's all confusing. It just feels like a double standard since other games can have both pages. The game was set to launch tomorrow on Meta PC and PSVR 2, but the PSVR 2 version has now been delayed. I can't share details, but let's just say the reason for the delay is frustratingly dumb. It's hard to understand why shovelware games are being improved with ease and have their own store page up day one, while projects like mine face all the obstacles. You can say my disappointment comes from this one. I don't mean to offend anyone with the poster attack PlayStation. I'm simply heartbroken by, I think, the fact this person's even adding these qualifiers. I totally get where this person's coming from. Again, especially looking through the PlayStation Store and doing, like, whenever we do the under $2 and under $3 videos on this channel, it is just so much. Like, brother, does Casino Roulette Royale need 2 listings on the PlayStation Store for a PS4 and PS5 version? I get it, it's on sale, great, but like we don't need 2 listings for that. Does Dance Mania need a PS4 and PS5 listing? Does Dungeon Party, does Cocktail Rush, do these games need a PS4? Does Drift Racing Madness need a PS4 and PS5 listing and ahead of games that are relevant like Golf Club Nostalgia? And games of that ilk that I feel like people will enjoy, but yet they're getting drowned out by these games that do have double listings. It's a little bit ridiculous to say the least, and I think it's something that definitely needs to be brought to the attention of the PlayStation Store, PlayStation in general. Will they do anything? I don't know. I don't know if they're in that game because I don't know if they view this side of their storefront as a big deal. To me, what I get from it is that they just are like, okay, this is the bottom end of the PlayStation Store. That's how they view it. Just let whatever happens down there, but the big games, you know, we'll focus on those, we'll promote those games. But as far as the lower end games, as far as how much visibility they have and how much attention they do generally get, you know, let it be the Wild West. Do whatever you want down there, and there are no there's no real rhyme or reason, but that's a problem. That's a problem if you want to create an actual efficient storefront, and the PlayStation Store right now, for, you know, what it is, it needs a lot of work to be done on that end and promoting those games. They should have specific sections tailored out more so that put relevant games, and they gotta stop this double listing. I think the double listing thing really needs to end as well, but that is gonna do it for me. Again, the user also has a significant post, a lengthy post about the scam that happened where a company stole their whole game from Steam, ripped it, and sold it as their own on the PlayStation 5 and other consoles, and that story is just wild. That story is from 8 months ago. But this developer has been through the ringer as far as dealing with issues as far as game development. Sometimes, you know, we cover a lot of the bigger games, and a lot of the times we focus on this game doing really well, that game doing really well as far as the indie game development world goes. And there are a lot of successes every year, but realize for every success, there's a world of just people grinding for hours and hours, and then ultimately to end up with something like this. We get it. Not every game is going to be successful, but for the PlayStation Store, what they have to do is at least provide the best opportunity possible, and that's what they need to do that I feel like they're failing to do. That's going to do it for me. This video ran a little long, but there's a lot to highlight, but sound off with your thoughts in the comment section down below. As always, thank you for watching, and you know, if you do want to check out the game, Trenches is their game. They are working on a VR version of Trenches, so you can check that out as well. And the Backrooms in 1998 was the game that ended up getting stolen. That game actually has a very positive reception on Steam, 547 reviews, 82% positive, a 1998 first-person found footage psychological horror survival game where it tells the story of a young teen after accidentally falling into the depths of the Backrooms in 1998. Yeah, kind of looks a little wild there if you want something a little bit eerie. Psychological horror game. That's $9.99 on Steam as far as looking that up. So shout out to them, but hopefully you'll get Trenches VR on the storefront as well. That's a PSVR 2 title for Trenches VR. That'll do it for me. Let me know all of your thoughts in the comment section down below. As always, sound off there. Thank you for watching, and goodbye. Hey guys, we hope you enjoyed the video, and if you did, make sure to hit the subscribe button, and if you're already subscribed, do us a favor and hit the bell icon. This way you'll be notified whenever we post a new video. That's the best way to keep up with all of our uploads, and we usually try to upload 2 videos a day. And with the bell icon hit, you'll be notified whenever we do upload a video. As always, thanks for watching.